We're going to stick to this global local theme. Let's talk about styling. We know how to add dynamic styling and so on, but I don't want to talk about this. I want to talk about component styling. You know that you can add this style tag to your .view files, and in here you can set up some styling. Now, maybe you remember that earlier in the course, I mentioned that no matter where you added your styling, it would always be treated as global styling that affects the entire app. So if I define a section h2 style here in the badge list.view file, this does not, important, this does not mean that this styling would only affect this template. Instead, indeed, it affects all files. And I can show this to you. In the header.view file, I'm selecting the header element by its tag, and I'm applying a certain style here. Now, in user info, I'm wrapping this h3 tag and my base badge with a div, and actually using a header element here makes more sense semantically, in my opinion. But if I switch to a header here, you will see that now I get the header styling being applied here in my user info component as well. And that, of course, breaks my style there. Now, this is happening because I do have my header styling set up in header.view. And as I explained, even though it's set up in that file, it affects the entire app. Sometimes this is what you want. For example, in app.view, you typically do define your global application-wide styles, like setting the body or some font family. So styles that should affect everything in your app typically are defined in the style tags of your app.view file, since this is your entry point of the entire application. But if you have styles in individual components, it often would be nice if you could scope these styles to those components to ensure that they really only affect the template of the component in which you defined them. And Vue supports this. There is a scoped attribute which you can add to that style tag. And if you do add it, that tells Vue that the styles defined in here should only affect the template that lives in the same file and no other component. No child component, no sibling component, nothing else in your app. And we can do this in all those components, therefore. So in the header, I add scoped. In user info, I just added it. In base badge, I'm going to add it here. And in badge list, I'm also going to add it to make all those styles scoped. And if we do that, you see now we no longer have this style, this header style being applied here. We also see that some styles broke because I relied on this global sharing, but I actually rather fixed those broken styles than having this side effect of being restricted which element I can use where, or of being forced that I have to ensure manually that styles don't spill over and destroy my layout. So therefore here in user info, I'm simply targeting section header here to fix the styling in my user info header. And regarding the available badges here in badge list, the problem is that the section lost its styling because I did define that styling here in user info. Well, I'm simply going to copy that over to badge list, add it there, save everything, and it's back. So that's scoped styling, a super useful feature to make sure that your styles really only affect the component in which you're defining it. Now, in case you're wondering how Vue actually implements this, if you inspect this with your developer tools in the browser, you will notice that Vue achieves this by giving your elements special attributes, like this data-v-something attribute. Now, this is added by Vue, and you see in the styling, actually Vue changes your selector behind the scenes, like this header selector here, to actually now be header plus this generated attribute, And since every component's template will receive its own attribute, this ensures that styling is scoped to that component's template markup. That's how Vue implements this behind the scenes, with this custom attribute and by adjusting your selectors.